everyone, and welcome to First Things First. I'm Jenna Wolfe. That is the Hall of Famer Cris Carter. That is Nick Wright. And what an absolutely fantastic weekend it was in the world of sports. We'll talk some basketball today because the NBA playoffs certainly served up its share of upsets. We will talk a little football because Russell Wilson might have played his last game in Seattle. But we are going to talk a whole bunch of golf because Tiger, oh Tiger. For years, the world wondered if Tiger Woods would ever play competitive golf again, himself included, in what can only be called one of, if not the greatest comebacks in sports history. The 43-year-old Tiger Woods captured his fifth green jacket on Sunday in a very competitive field with seemingly everyone at Augusta rooting him on. It brings his major total to 15. That's just 3 shy of Jack. And it breaks an 11-year major championship drought. Here is Tiger Woods.
Just unreal, to be honest with you. It's, just the whole tournament has meant so much to me over the years. Coming here in '95 for the first time and be able to play as an amateur, winning in '97, and then come full circle 22 years later. Be able to do it again. I had, serious doubts after, what transpired a couple of years ago. I could barely walk. I couldn't sit, couldn't lay down. I really couldn't do much of anything. Luckily, I had the procedure on my back, which gave me a chance at, having a normal life. But then all of a sudden, I realized I could actually swing a golf club again, and I felt if I could somehow piece this together, that I still had the hands to do it. The body's not the same as it was, a long time ago, but I still have good hands. And so that certainly has helped, and I've pieced it together. And next thing you know, if you look at it, my first 14 wins in majors where I had the lead in every one of them, or tied for the lead. To have the opportunity to come back like this, it is probably one of the biggest wins I've ever had for sure. My dad's no longer here, but my mom's here 22 years later. I happened to win the tournament, and then to have both Sam and Charlie here. They were there at the British Open last year when I had the lead, on that back nine, and I made a few mistakes and cost myself a chance to win the Open title. Wasn't going to let that happen to them twice. And so for them to see what it's like to have their dad win a major championship, I hope that's something they'll never forget.
It was great. Yeah, and you truly believe the emotional toll it took on him when he lost that and then when he won yesterday at the Masters. CC, how remarkable was yesterday's victory?
It was really amazing to see, because in the game of golf, and when you're utilizing not only your body but your mind stays a lot more young and youthful than your body. It's been well chronicled as far as the number of surgeries that he's had. No golfer ever in the history of the PGA Tour has played on tour with a fused back. I've been trying to point that out every time we talk about Tiger Woods. What do you think about Tiger? Well, no golfer has ever even played with a fused back, let alone trying to win tournaments, in which I believe, and maybe there's some other golf historians can tell me that there was another era where there was top quality golfers that have major championship experience, positive experience, than what was on the leaderboard this weekend at the Masters. So this was a remarkable feat. Truly, truly remarkable. And for those who love Tiger Woods and his biggest fans, they would even, if they were being honest, say, I didn't even know if I was going to ever see this day. Because he was right. 2 years ago at the captain's dinner, the dinner they have the week leading up to the Masters, he was not able to stand up. He was not able to do anything physically. He was totally depressed.
What did he tell people at that captain's dinner?
I mean, he was just trying to walk.
Right, and he told people at that champion's dinner, I don't think I'm ever going to play again.
Remember, he left the dinner, he went to London right after to get yet another opinion on just something to ease the pain, much less to be able to play again.
And that's why, and the culmination of everything, the scandal, and then the arrest, and the injuries, and the depression, that's why yesterday was, for me as a sports fan, as close to a religious experience as I've ever had. What we saw, that man doing it on that course, given those circumstances, was truly unbelievable. And I mean that in the literal form. Like, it is very difficult to believe. Now, you did have moments, as he alluded to, moments that gave you hope this could happen recently. The previous 2 majors, at the British, he briefly held the lead before he
that's what made this more important.
Yep.
Because if he wasn't able to, because the last 2 majors, yes, and then the last 4 majors, yes, he's been involved. He blew the British Open last year.
He had the lead and immediately double bogeyed.
Yes.
Tried to do some fancy flop shot right off the green as if he were chasing rather than in the lead. And he double bogeyed that hole, bogeyed the next hole, and now he's just playing for a top 5. And then the following tournament, the PGA, the following major, Brooks Koepka had a substantial lead throughout. Tiger was in the final group, but only at one moment for one hole, came within 1 shot. Koepka had a comfortable lead the whole time. And so for him to have the patient approach that you were talking about, that's what you were alluding to, I feel like, in the beginning, which is even if his body's wearing down, his mind can not only stay sharp, but maybe get sharper. He knows the way you win the Masters is the 13th hole on. The first 12 holes, you survive it, right?
Mm-hmm. You survive or lose it.
Right, survive or lose. And so I thought he was going to start pressing because Molinari seemed like a damn robot out there. He almost set the Masters record for consecutive holes without a bogey, but Tiger waited and waited and waited. And then on the 12th hole, everyone fell apart around him. There's 5 guys in the top 5, obviously. First, third, fourth, and fifth. All hit it in the water, all hit the same place in the water. Tiger hit it squarely on the green, and that's what allowed him to tie for the lead and then go on to win.
But that was part of what made it so special. You saw the effect, the old Tiger effect, where he actually affects the other guys around him. Molinari was a robot the whole time. I thought he had it won. Koepka was too, and you started seeing him make mistake after mistake, and that's when you saw Tiger Woods be vintage Tiger Woods. He just pressed on, and he knew what he had to do, and he methodically went through the rest of the game.
And see, you made the point on that, where he got lucky, a little fortunate. Golf God smiled down on him with the pairings.
Yes, because of the bad weather. The Augusta National decided to do something they've never done. They go both tee pairings, going off the front and the back simultaneously, moving the tournament up. The tournament was going to finish at 2 o'clock, and the leaders would go off at 9:20, typically compared to going off at 3:20.
And it was going to be a threesome instead of a twosome.
Yes.
If it was a twosome, what group's Tiger in?
He's in the second to the last group. And those guys don't feel the pressure and of the crowd. Because one thing that happened at the British Open in last year's majors, where Molinari was able to battle with Tiger down the stretch and pull it out. We believe Tiger blew that one. Tiger didn't have the advantage playing in the British Open, U.S. Open, even going against Koepka. People were excited about Tiger, but he didn't have the advantage. At Augusta National, besides Jack Nicklaus, all right, he's the only person that can make the crowd do what it did. After he wins, they were chanting, Tiger. You've never, ever heard that from those type of people. So that was the effect of him being in that last group, even the group in front of him, because the Tiger, the patrons that love Tiger are getting ahead of it.
At one point, Koepka teed off with them still cheering. Koepka was about to tee off. This was after the shot on 16, which was an all-time Tiger iconic shot. You said you know Augusta well enough that once it landed on the green, you thought it could go in. I don't know the greens and the undulation like that, but once it finished, I said, well, now he's going to win the tournament.
Yeah, it basically was on the same line as the chip that he chipped in last time he won, where he chipped it up the hill after being over the green. Yep. All right, so I mean, Tiger Woods, his ability to be able to make shots in those pressure situations, that was the difference.
Did the fact that this happened at Augusta, at the Masters, make it that much more impressive?
Well, it made it, to me, more special, and it made it that we now have, and we obviously are not the only people who point this out, but the juxtaposition of a 21-year-old Tiger Woods embracing his father in that bear hug, and then 22 years later, a 43-year-old Tiger Woods picking up his young son and, you know, embracing Charlie like that. I thought that was as special as it could get, and I thought he seemed to take in that moment. I've never seen, even when the last major he won prior to this, where he had to make a putt on 18 on the 72nd hole just to force a playoff, and you saw his exuberant reaction. I've never seen an elongated reaction from Tiger the way we saw yesterday.
I've been very, very fortunate that I've been with Tiger, Tiger's dad, Tiger's family, the agent, have walked with them for a number of years at Augusta, even had dinner with Tiger's mom and Tiger's dad the night before he put on the green jacket one time. But Tiger's to the point in his career, it's about tournaments and everything, but it's really about an audience of two. And that's his daughter and that's his son, because they've never seen him be a champion. It was important for him. His daughter had just lost a state soccer game and decided, man, are you going to come? Tiger says she's in the dumps. Can you come to the Masters? Maybe it might cheer you up. His son had never even been on the course and everything. So I know this was his dad's favorite tournament. So him winning at Augusta, him getting his 5th jacket, Jack now has 6. He's able to move out of the 4 range that him and Arnold Palmer had 4 together. So, yes, extra special anytime Tiger is able to win, because that being his dad. But now with the audience of 2, his daughter and his son, very, very important for Tiger Woods to be able to be a champion in front of them.
All right, we'll have plenty more on this. We thought it was going to be a Game of Thrones Sunday. It was Tiger Woods Sunday yesterday. Coming up, there was also some NBA playoff action to talk about. Will Joel Embiid's health derail the Sixers' run at a title? That's next on FS1. You can always check us out on the Fox Sports channel on SiriusXM. We'll be right back. Welcome back. All right, we'll get to Joel Embiid and the Sixers in a second, but first, highlights presented by Hilton. Spurs Nuggets. Derek White cruises up the court and does this to Paul Millsap.
Oh, just another draft pick the Spurs find. Final few picks of the first round, coming in, making an impact in the postseason. Spurs, not that shocking. They beat the
I was shocked he did that.
Oh, that was a shocking play.
Yes.
Yeah. The game was not that shocking itself.
Pacers and Celtics. Thaddeus Young showing great effort as he stays with the play, gets the chase down block on Al Horford.
For our younger viewers that are wondering, what was the NBA like in the mid-90s? A lot of this. Watch this game. Tough-nosed defense and missed open shots, man. This was a slog.
I really enjoyed the intensity of the playoffs. Man, get rid of that regular season, 82 games, shorten it a little bit. Let's get to the playoffs sooner.
This was incredible. Giannis, Pistons, Bucks, gets the steal, stretches in transition for the dunk from the free throw line.
Brent Barry won a dunk contest doing that. Jordan was actually at the free throw line. Brent Barry won one a foot inside of the free throw line like Giannis did right there with his warm-ups on and everything.
That might be the longest in-game dunk
ever?
Yes.
Check this out. Halftime at Jazz Rockets. This is just
great.
Silly. It's amazing.
What? See, you're not a fan of this? The Rockets in-game entertainment, our friend Tillman Fertitta, they get it right over there. This is outstanding. This was better than Celtics Pacers, I'm telling you right now.
This is what our girl Allie used to do before she
Allie, yep, who does my makeup. This is exactly what Allie used to do in Cirque du Soleil.
Allie was in Cirque du Soleil?
Yes, absolutely.
Wow. Yep. Allie, you listening?
What happened to Allie?
She's doing that to Freddie right now.
She went from Cirque du Soleil to having to work with you?
Now Cirque du Soleil.
Upgraded.
Man, yeah. Absolutely. That's how she got the job. What experience do you have dealing with crazy Cris?
Jenna. On to game 1 between the Nets and the Sixers. It's good to see you again, Nick.
Yeah, you too.
This was the D'Angelo Russell show. Russell pouring in 26 in his first career playoff game to help the Nets pull off the upset. 111-102. Boy, the Philly faithful showing their disgust. They booed their Sixers team. Their main target, Ben Simmons, who had just 9 points. When asked about the booing, Simmons had this to say after the game.
If you're going to boo, then stay on that side. So I feel if you're a Sixers fan, you're going to boo, stay on that side.
All right, Nick, let's start with you.
Yeah.
Cause for concern after what you saw from the Sixers last night?
Just worst case scenario, game 1. And that's all. Joel Embiid's not healthy, and it shows. Ben Simmons has the second worst playoff game of his career, only trumped by the 1-point effort in Game 2 last year against the Celtics. And their shooters, Redick, Harris, their one good sub or their best sub, Mike Scott, they combined to go 5 of 22 from the field, 2 of 14 from 3, which is a trend because the team went 3 of 25 from 3. I understand some folks are going to say, listen, make or miss league. When you make 12% of your three-point attempts, when you only make 3 three-pointers, it's tough to win. And it is tough to win under those circumstances. But I'm worried about Embiid's health. And Ben Simmons, like I'm watching the game, see, and I can think of no one but you because while I think Ben Simmons has been over-criticized because he's an all-star and we treat him like he's a scrub, on Saturday afternoon, he deserved to be booed. He deserved all of the criticism he got. He was bad. He was a big part of the problem for Philadelphia, and it continues a trend. Now, they can fix it tonight. They can work towards fixing it tonight, then get back on track tonight. But yeah, like if you're the Sixers, we have talked about, can they beat Toronto in round 2? I don't think many people were concerned, could they beat Brooklyn in round 1, and I don't think people should overreact to it. But if Embiid's not fully healthy, Simmons must play better, and their shooters got to make some shots.
Yeah, I'm not going to be overreacting because I was calling for the upset in the first round of the playoffs, Brooklyn to beat Philadelphia. I thought they would have a hard time matching up with them because during the regular season, Philadelphia is a good defensive team, but the sets of the Nets would give them problems because the Sixers don't have a true point guard, and they also have J.J. Redick, which is hard to hide him. From a shooting standpoint, that was the difference in this game and the way they operate. Now, Philadelphia, the indictment on them is they got one franchise player, not 3. Jimmy Butler's not a franchise player. He can't be the best player on the championship team, and Ben Simmons is definitely not a franchise player in that regard. Joel Embiid is that, and when Joel Embiid is not healthy and are playing well, we see the type of team that Philadelphia was, and that's what we saw in game number 1. I believe this will be a very tough series for them. Philadelphia, if they don't cure their road woes in the playoffs, man, they got a chance to get ejected. They lose 2 in Brooklyn because, it's a given, all right? They're going to win game number 2.
You believe that? Okay.
Yes, it's a given. They'll come out there, they'll win game number 2, but now it comes down to Thursday, Saturday in Brooklyn, because I believe this is a tough matchup for them. Brooklyn got whatever shot they wanted at any part of the court and whenever they wanted it during this game. And I expect Philadelphia to shoot better, but how they play them defensively, I want to see what changes they make.
Are you surprised a little bit about Joel Embiid and maybe the severity of this injury? I think we sort of heard a little bit that it was bothering him since the All-Star break, but I don't think anyone knew it was as bad as it was, that he couldn't finish out the game.
No, even when the reports were he was questionable for game 1, I thought that was maybe a little misdirection by Elton Brand. No, Joel Embiid's clearly not healthy. But here's the issue. Even with a compromised Joel Embiid, when Jimmy Butler gives you 32 and you're playing a Brooklyn Nets team that has a bit of a happy-to-be-here feel to it, you're not supposed to lose at home in the playoffs. Like, we can't just, if they're in round 2 and Joel Embiid's not fully healthy, the Raptors are really good, assuming the Raptors get there. Then that is not an excuse, it's an explanation. Our best player's not 100%. But when you have this talented of a starting 5, you shouldn't need Joel Embiid to give you 30 and 15 to beat the Nets, especially when Jimmy Butler plays one of the best games he's played since he came over to the Sixers.
Yeah, in the playoff, the brand of basketball is totally different. And if you give up D'Angelo Russell, he gets 26. The backup point guard, Karis LeVert, he gets 23. How you going to win that game? We're missing a lot of the good things that the Nets did. First 3 quarters, how many points they get? 31, 31, 31. So that has a lot to do with their shooting and their overall execution compared to, Philly. Man, I thought Philadelphia was better than what they were. But in this game, the Nets were just a lot better, and they seemed like they were more prepared than the Sixers.
And that's, by the way, the defensive part is where I will add some heat for Ben Simmons, because I think when we've critiqued his inability to shoot, one of the things that just gets thrown aside is he has been, up to this point in his career, an outstanding defensive perimeter player. Where was that? Like, I understand you were upset the fans were booing you. I understand you're on a bad offensive game. You can put your imprint on the game on the defensive end, especially when your best player on both sides, Joel Embiid, is not at 100%. That's when they particularly need Ben Simmons defensively, and he was bad on both ends on Saturday.
And from the line. 1 for 5 from the line yesterday, too. So he didn't contribute.
That's normal, Jenna. When he gets outside that little restricted area.
By the restricted area, literally a foot underneath the
There you go.
Got it. All right. Time now for Put a Grade on It, sponsored by CarMax. Let's stick with this game. D'Angelo Russell had a team-high 26 to put the Nets up 1-0 in the series. So, CC, put a grade on D'Angelo's first career playoff performance.
Man, you got to give him an A, especially after the things Magic Johnson, the Lakers said about him. Man, you're not a leader. You're not the guy going to lead my team. Well, I'm happen to be in the playoffs. First playoff game, outstanding for him. He gives them the ability because off that pick and roll, man, he's got outstanding range, and he's got that herky-jerky, not Harden, but that herky-jerky style that is hard. I'm going to give him an A. Great in game number 1.
I also give him an A because of the way he recovered from what was a really poor first half. First half, I think it was 2 of 11.
Yep.
He was getting his teammates involved, but his own shot wasn't falling. Came back in the second half, scored 18, was excellent, went from distributor to scorer in the second half. And Cris LeVert, who we mentioned also, was really great in this game. The backcourt, starting and on sixth man backcourt, was outstanding for Brooklyn in this basketball game.
All right, good stuff. Got to take a break. Coming up, hey, has Russell Wilson played his last game in his Seahawks jersey? That's next on First Things First. On Saturday, it's an MLB doubleheader on FS1. Coverage begins at 3 Eastern as the Pirates host the Giants. Then Cody Bellinger and the Dodgers take on Christian Yelich and the Brewers. Catch it all on FS1 and the Fox Sports app. All right, time for us to go viral. Tiger Woods capturing his 5th career Masters championship yesterday to bring his major total to 15. And an emotional Tiger came full circle from hugging his dad in 1997 after he won his first green jacket to yesterday when he had a celebratory embrace with his son, Charlie. A flood of emotions in both very different floods of emotions.
I thought Nick Faldo put it spectacularly after Nick and Nance laid out, let us enjoy the moment. And then once they were finally walking up towards the clubhouse, said, you will never see a better image in the history of golf than what that crowd, the crowd at Augusta chanting Tiger like it was some regular tournament, that raucous of a crowd, and the juxtaposition of him as a father hugging his son compared to his son hugging his father. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, and it speaks to the history of golf at Augusta. Not only this weekend, they had a women's event there. First time women had played an event at Augusta. And as an African-American, Tiger and his dad, I know what they went through as far as to be able to get there. And then now Tiger, the next generation with his son. Man, great moment. One of the greatest all time.
Good stuff. All right, time now for some stories to start your morning, sponsored by Gillette Clear Gel. Let's do some more NBA playoff action. Jazz Rockets game 1. Utah had one big goal stop James Harden. Spoiler alert, it didn't work. The Beard finished with 29 points, 8 rebounds, and 10 assists. Rockets win big, 122-90. CC, Houston starting to resemble the team that almost made the finals last season?
I mean, this is where you want them to be. I think this is a good matchup for them, good test, very tough test. They did what you had to do. You hold serve in that first game. I like the style. When they tried to take Harden away, they had a strange defense they were playing where they played off to his left and were helping out in the lane. He was a great distributor of the basketball when he had to be, unselfish, knowing what he needed to do to be able to orchestrate that offense. Great start for the Rockets.
And I'm sure the Jazz, if you'd have told them Harden's going to score 29, they'd have said, we will take it. First game
no
of the
doubt.
But it was everyone else. The Rockets were dominant defensively in this game. And there were 3 teams this weekend that were truly outstanding. The Warriors, the Bucks, and the Rockets. Warriors and Bucks were playing teams that were 8 seeds for a reason. The Rockets were playing a team with the 3rd best record in the NBA since the break, and they dominated them by 32 points. An outstanding win for Houston.
All right, the Warriors' quest for a three-peat officially began on Saturday. Steph Curry went off. 38 points to go along with 15 rebounds and 7 assists. Golden State cruises to a 121-104 win. Nick, does Steph get enough credit for his all-around game?
Not to me. He's always been a better rebounder for his position than anyone wants to give him credit for. In the NBA Finals, he averages around 6 rebounds a game. We know what a great passer and dribbler he is. But what he was this weekend was Steph Curry at his absolute best, doing everything and bending the defense at his will against the Clippers, a very feisty but not quite ready for the big stage Clippers.
All of the frontline Warriors don't get enough credit. Go back to Clay. Does he get enough credit? No. Draymond, for what he does for him, did he get enough credit? No. KD, he's just an extra. No, not enough credit. And Steph is the leader of the pack. You can't appreciate his skill, getting to the hole, being undersized. Man, his shooting is second to none in NBA history. So I agree with the fact that Steph does not get enough credit. Durant thrown out of the game, don't need it.
No.
Steph drops 38 on him. Big game.
All right, moving on to the Thunder and the Blazers. Damian Lillard, 30 points, while Enes Kanter put up 20 points and 18 rebounds against his former team. The Blazers get the win, 104-99. Nick, how important was it for Portland to take Game 1?
Critical. This is the upset a lot of people are picking, and I'm sure still picking, with the Thunder beating the Blazers. Blazers had to at least hold serve for Game 1. Enes Kanter, I'm glad you mentioned him, a little revenge game against his former team. He was outstanding, including the bucket that iced it. Maybe a travel involved in that one. But Dame's been a good playoff performer for a while now. He was outstanding. Thunder got to be worried about Paul George's health and whether or not that shooting shoulder is going to allow him to shoot the basketball.
Yeah, last couple of years, Portland's been a huge disappointment in the playoffs, getting swept. This win for them, game number 1, was huge. Not only for this matchup, great insight by you as far as Paul George. A number of days ago, couldn't even lift his arm, was able to play in this game, so that's something we must watch. But Kanter was the story of the game. His offensive rebounds and the ability to be able to keep possessions alive, tapping the ball out for extra possessions, that was the difference late in this ball game.
All right, our top story this morning, Tiger Woods pulling off one of the greatest comebacks in sports history on Sunday. After 3 career-threatening back surgeries and a litany of self-inflicted personal issues, many wondered if he'd ever play golf again, himself included. And then on Sunday, for the first time in his career, Woods came from behind to win a championship. Woods wins his 5th green jacket, second only to Jack Nicklaus, who had 6. His 15th major championship, trailing only Jack Nicklaus, who had 18. Here's your Masters champion with the media after his win.
Tiger, do you think Jack should be worried now as far as the 18 majors?
Well, I don't know if he's worried or not. I'm sure he's home and West Palm just chilling and watching.
All right, CC, let's talk about this in more of a historic perspective. Do you think Tiger can make a run at Jack with the 18 major championships?
I do believe he can make a run. I don't believe it's overreaction. And the reason why is because not only in golf, where we see people in every year, as far as the Masters, Freddie Couples, Bernhard Langer, we see these guys shoot under par, and they're competitive in the Masters. We have an example, the best example ever, Tom Brady in the NFL, as far as longevity and extended period of time, Drew Brees. So we should see LeBron playing at a level that we didn't see. People drafted with him, man, they're headed off into retirement, and LeBron's still trying to win a championship. So we see this in golf. Tiger talked about this last night, late, talked about the overall, the modern day medicine, the technology, given how you can eat right to be able to take care of your body a little more, the overall recovery methods that are more advanced now. So he's expecting that even with a fused back, that he's going to have an elongated career better than others. And I think Phil Mickelson is a good example of it. Phil can win a major now. Phil's 48. He's turned 49 in June. So he's 5 years advanced of Tiger Woods. So Tiger in the next 5 years, if you look down the list and look at some of the venues he's going to be playing at, I mean, he's got to get to number 16 in a hurry. I believe that's very important. I hope he can't go another 2-3 years without winning another, because these are going to be the next year and a half, 2 years, I believe will be better than in 4 years.
Because we already know where the tournaments are. And so that's the...
We already know where he's very, very familiar with them. Places where he's already, when Beth played Paige Black here in New York State, they're going to play the PGA there. He's already won there. They got the going out to on the West Coast.
The Pebble Beach, the U.S.
Pebble
Open.
Beach. La Jolla's coming up, U.S. Open, another course he's won a whole bunch. So there
and he's got the momentum on his side right now.
He's got the momentum, but now there's some courses lined up that are favorable for his eye. And he's going to be the favorite at Augusta. Like, he's going to win at least one more at Augusta. So he's going to tie Jack. So that's one more. Can he get 2 at these other venues? That's why I believe it's alive and well.
So of the next 4 majors, to Chris's point, remember, they changed the schedule this year. The PGA is now in May. So the PGA is right around the corner. That's at Beth Page Black, where he won the U.S. Open once. The next major is at the Pebble Beach, the U.S. Open. He obliterated that course when he was 24 years old to win the 2000 U.S. Open. Now, the British this year is at a place they haven't played a British Open in almost 70 years. It's in Northern Ireland, so he's never won there, never played there. But then, of course, the next major is the Masters, what Chris is talking about. I always will just bet on Tiger just blindly. I'm so happy it's not blind anymore. Like, because here's the context of it. The last 3 majors, nobody's been better than Tiger Woods. The last 3 majors, nobody's had a better score to par than Tiger Woods. And I just want to give a little context for that. From the beginning of 2005 until the U.S. Open in 2008, there were 14 majors played. In those 14 majors, Tiger won 6 of them and had 12 top 4 finishes.
Wow.
From 2015 to the middle of last year, there were 14 majors played. He had 8 that he didn't play in, 4 that he missed cuts. So 12 that he didn't even make the weekend or make the beginning of, and 0 top 15s. We're 3 majors from the end of that moment. And he has the British, where he led on the back 9 on Sunday, the PGA, where he finished second, and the Masters that he just won in stirring comeback fashion. The Vegas odds always were wrong on Tiger Woods because he was always going to be one of the favorites because people like betting on him. But who should be the favorite at the PGA? Given how he's playing, given where the course is, who should be the favorite at Pebble? And the other important part from this weekend, when we talk about can he get to 16, 17, 18, is we didn't see any times his back flared up. We didn't see any times he was wincing. He seemed as healthy as he had been in a decade.
Well, he did have some problems last month with his neck, so I'm still worried about his overall health. But these are some things that the reason why I do believe, and it has to do with golf. And right now, he talked about the technology. He's embracing technology. He's got a lighter shaft in his driver than he's ever had before. And he talked about how comfortable he is with his driver, hitting it left to right and or right to left. And you have to be able to shape the ball. So there's a lot of people talking about, man, can Tiger do this? It's about golfing his ball. And he has the type of game now where he's not trying to overpower the golf course, that this game should blend well to winning majors. He also talked about, too, he's going to play less golf. He's going to concentrate and try to peak 4 to 5 times a year, and that's around the majors. So he's going to have everything as far as his body, his conditioning, trying to peak for these 4 majors. So I look for him to be able to try to tie Jack. It's still a tremendous accomplishment. We can't just overreact to him winning yesterday and say, oh, it's a foregone conclusion. No, right now there's more competitive golfers, younger golfers who can hit the ball so much further than him, and they have championship pedigrees. Because of this absence, they have green jackets. They have won the Open. They have won the PGA.
That leaderboard yesterday showed you that. It was a bunch of minted champions and a few guys going for their first time.
I just thought it was interesting in his press conference, something we haven't heard before, where he said, I am sore. I'm really sore. Tomorrow's going to be the first day. I'm not even going to pick up a golf club. I need to get my body healed again. So we clearly felt the toll of all of them. All right, let's move on to a little football, to the NFL now. Russell Wilson's time in Seattle might be coming to an abrupt end. A few weeks ago, he told the team he wanted a new deal by April 15th. Well, that's today. Gotta get my taxes done. According to a report, the Seahawks believe Wilson eventually would like to play elsewhere. If you're wondering where elsewhere is, just ask Chiefs All-Pro safety Tyrann Mathieu, who tweeted, Russ wants New York, but you ain't heard that from T. CC, would the Seahawks be crazy to let Wilson leave Seattle?
Well, crazy is a little strong. They better have a plan. I mean, I think with their fan base and with their front office and how they've run things, they got tremendous confidence in Snyder, who's the general manager there, and Pete Carroll, who's the head coach. And Russell's taken them to a couple of Super Bowls. So they won't be like, oh, you know something, he underperformed. Well, how much magic do they feel like is left in taking them to 2 Super Bowls and getting them their first Super Bowl Lombardi trophy? So I wouldn't say it's crazy. It'd have to be one hell of a blockbuster deal, and it'd have to be explained that they're going to play a style of football that they don't believe. Putting that type of money into a quarterback that's the reason why because from a locker room standpoint, from a durability standpoint, every game you go into, you have a chance to win because of Russell Wilson. They better have a good explanation. But I do believe that the public confidence in Snyder and Pete Carroll, that will win them. That will give them benefit of the doubt.
Peter King dropped a few bombshells just a few hours ago this morning about this specific situation. What he made clear, which had not been made clear before, is that this deadline is not to work out a long-term extension this year. This deadline, according to Russell and his agent, is to work out a long-term extension ever. So what Peter King is saying is what he has heard, it seems like directly from the parties involved, is that if the Seahawks do not come to a long-term extension with Russell Wilson today, he will not negotiate with them again.
And he has how many years left?
Well,
on
he's
his
got
deal?
1 year left on his deal and then 2 potential franchise tags, and then he would hit the Kirk Cousins true free agency. The other note Peter King had, which is why it seems very unlikely they do get a deal done today, is that Russell Wilson and his agent, keep in mind, his agent is a baseball agent. His agent has one football client, that's Russell Wilson. They want a contract that has never been given in the NFL, which is a contract that escalates with the cap, meaning he gets this guaranteed dollars, but also it's whichever is more, also a percentage of the cap. So if the cap raises 20%, he gets a 20% raise. And so the idea that you could sign someone to a long-term deal that by the end of it turns into a bargain, that would be removed with this type of contract.
Sure.
I would be shocked if the Seahawks give a contract that's never been given in NFL history, especially the type of football they play, especially given the resources they want to allocate elsewhere. Seahawks might be comfortable saying, okay, this year we have you for 17, next year the franchise tag's 30, the year after that is 36, that's a lot. And do we really think that over 3 years you'll never negotiate with us? That you're going to just run the risk of getting injured, run the risk? And so, but I find it really interesting that the deadline reportedly is now or never, not now or next offseason, now or never to get a deal done with Russell Wilson.
But with the kind of football and the style that Pete Carroll plays, that offense, I don't want to say you could plug any game manager type of quarterback in there, but you can plug someone in there who probably is not as talented as Russell Wilson and still make it effective. Is that?
I'm sure there are people out there in the football world that probably agree to that. Cris Carter doesn't agree to that, because Russell Wilson makes them a special football team. He was able to allow them to rebuild and to tinker, but they haven't spent a whole bunch of money as far as offensive weapons. It was well noted by my trusty statistician, Dusty, the limited number of resources that they paid on the offensive line, worse than the NFL for 2 years. I mean, Russell Wilson was running for his life. So football's a complicated game, and there's certain guys that make it look easy, and the way they play makes it look like it would be easy for another quarterback, but no. Russell is a special, not only leader and human being, he is a special player. He can throw the ball, even though he's undersized, anywhere on the football field. He can run any system. You want to throw it 45 times? No problem. You want to throw it 20 times because we're going to run the ball, play defensive football? I'm cool with that because I'm a high percentage passer. Last 2 years in the NFL, led the NFL in touchdown passes. So I don't appropriate that skill to just anybody to be able to do. But there are people out there in the football minority, not the majority, in the minority that believe that, oh, we can just plug and play because of the system they have in Seattle.
And given the fact that he's never missed a game, last year he didn't miss a single snap. Over the last 2 years, he has missed 5 total snaps of over 2,100 possible. He averages nearly 12 wins per season in his career since he got there. Second highest passer rate in NFL history. Third best touchdown interception ratio in NFL history. If he were to become available via trade, it would be the biggest blockbuster trade we've seen since Herschel Walker, maybe ever. We're talking 3 first-round picks for Russell Wilson, and maybe Seattle is weighing how good he is versus what he's going to cost and what they would get back in what I think is what you saw the Colts get, or the Washington have to trade up to get RG3, something like that, and a little bit more to get Russell Wilson.
But if those are his demands, he will get moved.
Yeah.
Because those demands are outrageous.
All right, let's take a break. Coming up, was Tiger's comeback Masters win the best win of his career? That's ahead on First Things First. Back here at First Things First, we're joined by former NBA champ Steven Jackson.
Home sweet
up,
home.
Man? Good to see you.
Good to have you, Steven.
OG, what's happening?
Got a lot.
NBA playoffs, we had to come get the Jack. Had to get you.
Got a lot to talk about. The NBA playoffs
yell at Nick.
are underway, and the Lakers are on vacation with no head coach, no team president, and LeBron James preparing for another Space Jam. Safe to say the team has their work cut out for them. Some of that work happening this week. Reports are the Lakers plan to interview Ty Lue, Monty Williams, and Juwan Howard for the head coaching vacancy. All right, Steven, what do you think? Who's the best fit for the Lakers at that head coach position?
Y'all bring me on here to be honest. I'm just happy he's black. I don't care who he is. I'm just happy he's black. I'm just happy he's a player.
Rooting for everybody black.
I'm just saying, I'm just happy as a player, as an ex-player, because there's not too many black coaches in the league. We dominate as players as a race. It should be more black coaches in this league. I don't care who gets it, as long as it's a black coach.
You don't care who gets it of those three?
Of those three guys, no, I don't. Because I think they all do a great job.
Well, let's break them down, because I believe that they all have a different story. Juwan Howard, is he going to be the next Riley Spoelstra, coach that comes from that pedigree like Fizdale did, head coaching there at Memphis, now coaching here with the Knicks? Now, Monty Williams, for me, is the most intriguing. I like him. I personally know him. He's a great man, had the tragic death of his wife a couple years ago, so that took him out of coaching, and he went to the front office with the Spurs. So he's got a balanced resume. Former NBA player, great leader, great communicator. Guys really trust him. He has the X's and O's, too, that I believe will, if he's on the right stage, people it will earn a lot of people's respect. So I like him personally. I'm more intrigued by him with LeBron than I am Ty Lue. Because I know Ty Lue, I know what that's going to look like, and I still have some little leadership questions as far as Ty Lue, and when it comes down to LeBron and some of these other decisions, I believe that Monty Williams would be a fresh start. He's not in the Laker family. He has no attachment to LeBron besides USA Basketball, which they said they had a good relationship. Right. So I think that that's the part people don't know about. So I'm looking for Monty Williams to kind of come out of nowhere to upset Ty Lue to be able to get the Lakers job.
So everyone loves Monty Williams as a man. And that was before he dealt with the untimely death of his wife in a traffic accident that devastated the entire NBA community. Everybody has enormous respect for who he is and what he's accomplished. I also, though, once this name came up, because Luke Walton got fired shortly after we went off the air on Friday.
Got hired right soon as the commercials.
And by the way,
man, it's nice to have friends, man.
Golly.
And on that note, just real quick,
got you sweating.
Got to the parking lot, started his car, and had another job.
Well, and
got me sweating this morning. Woo.
That was something that obviously, by the way, I was very declarative. Luke Walton's going to get fired, and no one's going to hire him to be an NBA head coach, at least not instantly. I was wrong on that. Now, I didn't do the math on the Kings being the Kings and firing Dave Yeager and just wanting Luke Walton, but I was dead wrong, so I got to own that. I said his next job would be University of Arizona at best. Instead, he gets a very interesting Kings team, so credit to Luke Walton. I think before I give my thoughts on the coaches, because I think people are going to kill Stephen for what he said, but that is part of the reason. I know you don't care, but that is part of the reason you said it. Is because Luke Walton, a former player who happens to not be a black former player, can get fired after a lot of people think didn't do a great job and get rehired in 15 minutes.
Not even.
And you got Juwan Howard, who's been trying to get his first coaching gig, grinding in Miami for a half-decade.
Jerry Stackhouse took a team to the D-League championship.
Right.
Had to go to college to get a head coaching job.
And so there is a real element of and the way I explain it to people the easiest is, would it not seem odd to you if, let's just say 30%, not 70%, 30% of NHL coaches, hockey coaches, were black? Wouldn't you be like, well, that's intriguing? Almost none of the players are black.
Right.
And so there is that element in the league that is overwhelmingly black. So many of the coaches are white. I think that creates some of the frustration from a lot of people, especially former players. Now, on these names, Juwan Howard is an unknown to everybody. It is exactly what Cris said. Has he taken the incubator of Miami and built and learned and is going to hit the ground running? What I was saying about Monty, and I'm hesitant here because I like him so much, Monty Williams was very heavily criticized for the offense he ran with Anthony Davis, for the way they utilized the teams that he had there, and the way a lot of people thought they underachieved. And that then brings you to Ty Lue.
Well, the thing about Monty, now that you look back on it, the job he did looks a lot better.
The 45 wins compared to what they've done since then?
Absolutely. And Anthony Davis was not as developed. You know, so he was limited in what he could do. Not to interrupt you there.
It's a fair point that if people thought, man, this should be a 50-win team except for coaching, and they move on from Monty Williams, and then since then they have one good season, the Boogie year, one disastrous season this year. Maybe then people are saying, all right, they've played a number of years since then, I should say, but the last 2 years, people look back on it and say maybe he didn't do as bad of a job as it was made out to be.
What do you think should be the most important factor when the Lakers are looking at a head coach? Is it developing the young guys? Is it a relationship with LeBron? Is it just let's get wins next year, get back to the playoffs? You got 3 guys with different resumes. What do you think the biggest factor is?
Well, the one thing that none of us touched on that all 3 guys have is they all going to be respected. They all know how to demand the locker room. They're not going to let none of these players run over them. They're not going to let nobody not buy in. They're going to stand up, and if guys is not buying in, they're going to sit on the bench, and they're going to take the heat.
And from what you've heard, that's a huge change from the Luke Walton.
That's what the Lakers need. That's what the Lakers need, somebody to stand up and hold these guys accountable. All 3 of those guys are going to hold these guys accountable, and even with Ty Lue, he knows how to hold LeBron accountable. So all these coaches are respected. They're all players, and that's what guys want as a coach these days. They want guys that they respect.
There's an odd thing that happens with Ty Lue, which is a lot of the people who are most critical of LeBron also then take away all of Ty Lue's accomplishments as a coach because he had LeBron. Like, Ty Lue went to 3 straight NBA finals. No, LeBron did. Okay, but LeBron wasn't coaching that team. Somebody had to coach that team. Somebody had to keep that team from falling over the ledge when they were down 3-1 to the Warriors. Somebody had to keep that team afloat last season when they dealt with 3 totally different rosters and when they were facing elimination in 3 separate games in the Eastern Conference playoffs where the team was injured, where the team didn't like each other throughout the season. I think Ty Lue's a really good coach. I think the only reason you wouldn't hire Ty Lue is because of the optics, because we are now handing the franchise over to LeBron. I think people in the Lakers front office, particularly Jeannie Buss, are worried that it would send a message that LeBron is in control when they don't want that message out there. And so I think that actually could work against Ty Lue, even unfairly.
I got one question for Ty Lue before I hire him, though. Does he help me get Kyrie? Okay, because if he don't help me get Kyrie, then I might look for someone else. Because if he's not an advantage to that, because I question some of the X's and O's. I believe that in Cleveland he had more support than he's got in Los Angeles as far as getting key players. Oh, I need someone, a wing defender. Oh, they had a better job of going about that. So there's a lot of other Lakers questions I'm concerned about more so than who the coach is going to be.
I would be totally fine if somebody talked to, Kawhi's still playing, so it wouldn't be him. Kyrie still playing, but somebody talked to one of the free agents they're going after. If Kawhi said through a back channel, and he wouldn't, or Kyrie said, if you hire this coach, I will come here, then that's the coach they should hire. If there is a coach they could hire that will get them one of these guys, that is more important than anything else. So to C's point, not that Ty Lue would do that, but if Ty Lue would hurt your chance of getting Kyrie, I don't think he would, but if he would, you have to do that math as well.
Yeah.
All right, we got to take a break. Steven, stick around. Coming up, the Celtics prove they're a threat in the East. That's next. This is First Things First. Back here with Steven Jackson. We're going viral. So, Steven, all eyes were glued to the TV Sunday to watch Tiger capture his 5th green jacket, and with Woods winning his 15th major, it set Twitter ablaze. Just about everybody chiming in on Sunday, with Serena Williams tweeting, "I am literally in tears watching Tiger Woods. This is greatness like no other. Knowing all you have been through physically to come back and do what you just did today. Wow, congrats a million times. I am so inspired. Thank you, buddy." Patrick Mahomes sent out, "Can't believe it, man." Tiger emoji. Less words, but equal in emotion. Steph Curry adding, "Greatest comeback story in sports. Congrats, Tiger Woods. Let me hold one of those 5 jackets one time." Kobe praised Tiger with celebration emojis, and LeBron added, "I salute you, Tiger Woods. # inspired."
Where's everybody that was killing him?
Oh.
Where's all the posts?
Don't worry about our shows after us. There's people after us that they've been killing them. So we'll see what they have to say.
Yeah, because a lot of people was killing him and saying all this about him.
Oh, yeah.
The minor setback for the major comeback, Tiger. Great job,
Nice.
bro.
Really fun to watch.
All-time greatest, with respect to Ben Hogan, the greatest comeback in golf history and one of the greatest in sports history.
I thought you was going to jump on Tiger Woods set the world ablaze yesterday because, blazing was going on, too.
Oh, yeah, I was doing that while he was blazing.
You set him up, see? Steven will knock him down.
Yep.
That's what we call putting it at the rim.
At the rim. Back to the playoffs now. Pacers Celtics game 1. Kyrie Irving scoring 20 points to go along with 7 assists. Boston rallied after halftime to hold the Pacers to just 29 points in the second half. Celtics take this one 84-74. Here's Kyrie on battling back for the big win.
To be in a dogfight like that, and I don't know, did we score 90 points? No. So, and I've been in a few playoff games where I've been on both ends, but, that's where the really gritty individuals make their mark. And, just the focus level on the game plan really comes to an ultimate level. And we depend on each other that much more. And when you're in the trenches like that, just continue to get stops, and you always are in the game, no matter what. In the playoffs, you're always in the game. Any run at home, on the road, you're always in the game if you keep playing the right way and just keep trusting it.
Stephen, for weeks we've been talking about a switch the Celtics were going to have to really turn in order for them to play playoff basketball because the inconsistency wasn't seemingly working for them. It's why they ended up in the 4th seed. What did the Celtics prove in their Game 1 win?
Inconsistency, definitely what everybody was thinking about. But one thing about it, we got to understand, this team made it to the East Conference Finals without Kyrie. Kyrie is one of the best closers in the game right now. Coming together, you seen last night, it's just the beginning of the playoffs, but you see what this team can be. I love the way Kyrie's playing. I texted him last night, told him, you built for this moment. You lead this team and continue to lead the right way. I think this team is going to do great in the playoffs.
Also, it's a great matchup for them, because they were very inconsistent during the regular season. To me, I don't have as much faith in the Celtics as I do Kyrie. I believe he's going to try to send a message in this playoff run that they're going to try to make. But great matchup with them having to play the Pacers. Victor Oladipo being out for the season, him not being there, they don't have anyone that can challenge Kyrie. So for me, I like how he stayed with it. He didn't have a great game, but he played within the game, made shots, made the smart play, and look at his overall body language in the press conference. To me, was the most impressive thing. Talked about the team, talking about being involved in the game plan, consumed by the game plan, talked about his overall playoff experience, sometimes being low scoring, sometimes high scoring. I like that because he sounded like a mature basketball player with playoff experience, with a lot of young guys playing around him. So for me, I was really impressed with that press conference, more so than the basketball that I saw against the Pacers.
Credit to the Boston Celtics. The first half, they scored the fewest points they've scored in a half since early November. And they come out in the third quarter with what will be, 2 months from now, we'll be able to look back and see, the best defensive quarter anyone will play the entire postseason. Indiana made 2 baskets in the third quarter. 2. They scored 8 points. Like, Boston scored, there were 16 teams that played this weekend. Boston scored 15th most points and won a game by 10 because their defense was so outstanding in the second half. Yeah, there were missed shots by Indiana, but that was great defensive possessions. Indiana having to take contested shots late in the shot clock. This was Boston, who played really poorly in the first half. They were lucky to be not down by more than 7 at halftime, came out in the second half and played a bully brand of basketball where it was going to be first one to 90 wins, and no one got there. It ended up being first one to 80 wins because this would have been a terrible loss for the Celtics. And in the first half, it looked like that's the way it was headed.
It compliments to Brad Stevens. Coming out of halftime, they made some adjustments, opened the third quarter on a run of 22-3. So that's something else we questioned during the regular season, how he would manage these minutes. Now with Marcus Smart being hurt, seems like they tightened up that rotation. Now they seem like, okay, how can we do this every game? I'm looking forward to seeing how this series evolves.
Do you feel more comfortable with the Celtics? Do you buy into a little bit more that this is the team we thought they were going to put together from what you saw just in this game?
Well, the team has experience. You're not talking about a team that's coming into the end of the season with a team that hasn't been together and hasn't been in the playoffs. They might have struggled a little bit during the season, but they've been here. They've been in the playoffs. These young guys have made big plays and made big shots in the playoffs. With Kyrie back, I think this team is great. Now, what he said, playing Indiana is definitely special because coming in the playoffs after struggling, this gives you a chance to get into a good mood playing a team like Indiana and getting a winning feeling about you. And I think they'll do that.
They've got to feel great about one end of the court. On the offensive end, I mean, C mentioned it. Kyrie was 6 of 17 and was their best offensive player. Jason Tatum was the only guy on the Celtics shoot over 50% from the field. Like, both teams offensively, this looked like it was a 1993 Knicks Heat game where it was just a rock fight. So neither team feels good about how they played offensively. But this would have been if the Celtics had lost this game, and at halftime it looked like they were going to, it'd have been a disaster. And so they got away with one, and they did it because they locked in and played as well as they have all year on the defensive end.
Is a rock fight when people just throw rocks at each other?
Yeah, but people use it for low-scoring, physical basketball.
It's a hard fight, and having Kyrie and Rozier out there, I like that. I like that tandem.
Thank you for listening to the First Things First podcast. Remember, leave us a review and tell us what you think. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts and catch us on FS1 Monday through Friday, 6:30 a.m. Eastern. For Cris Carter and Nick Wright, I'm Jenna Wolfe. So long, everybody.